Hello there, and welcome to Pen Talk number 9. 9. 9. So this week is going to be just kind of a hodgepodge of stuff, some updates, and what's coming up on the blog, and things like that. So in terms of updates, I don't know how many of you guys live out on the East Coast or know what's going on out here, but we recently had the possibility that we were going to get hit by Hurricane Joaquin. They weren't quite sure, as of a couple days ago, they weren't sure where it was going to track in terms of whether it was going to make landfall out here on the coast or not. And so some of their models were having it making landfall near Washington, D.C., which is relatively close to where we live in Richmond, on the grand scale of things. And so, this being the first time that Wesley and I had ever had the possibility of being in a hurricane, and granted, we're not on the coast, so it wasn't that scary, but I still was kind of like, we could lose power. Like, there could be some flooding, we could lose power. So I decided to go to the store and I bought like a bunch of bottled water and peanut butter and crackers and granola bars. And I felt kind of silly, especially because it turned out to not make landfall out here on the East Coast. But you know what? Now we're prepared in case there's like a blizzard or something this winter. So yay. Otherwise, it's just been really rainy here the past couple of days. And to the point where we've been springing leaks all over the apartment. We had one that was coming through into the closet where our furnace is, and that was because there was like a tube that wasn't connected to anything. I guess in some apartments it's connected to a pump that pumps stuff up out through the roof, but in ours we don't have that, so this tube was just open, so we were getting water coming down through it. So once we figured that out, then they went up and sealed that up, and that's been good. And then I guess maybe Friday, it had been raining for a couple of days. It was still raining, and I was hearing this dripping noise in our apartment. I was like, what is dripping? Well, so then I opened the closet that has our washer and dryer in it, and there's water dripping from the light fixture up, in the ceiling onto the top of the dryer, which of course was pretty noisy once I actually got the door open. So then I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do about this. So, we put something underneath to catch the water and all of that, and basically, called the maintenance guy, and he came over and drained the water out of it and stuff. And they went up on the roof because they came over at a time when it wasn't raining. And I think they fixed it. It doesn't seem to have been leaking anymore. And right now, the rain seems to have stopped for a little while. But yeah, it's been very wet here and very cool as well, which is actually a benefit because right now I have the window closed in my bedroom, which makes filming in here much quieter. I mean, I can still hear stuff outside. I'm sure that there will still be loud trucks and stuff outside, but having that window closed really helps. So yeah, we managed to not float away, haven't been flooded out, so that's been great. I do know that there was some really bad flooding in the Carolinas, I think, so if you are there, please be careful. I hope you're okay. Let me know. But otherwise, let's see, other updates. I forget what I had talked about on the job front last week. I think I maybe had mentioned that I had just applied to kind of one of my dream jobs as an instructor for the physics department at VCU. If not, I did that last Monday. So that is still I'm still kind of waiting on a few things. I didn't realize it was such an intense application process and that I had to have actual letters of recommendation put in, similar to applying for grad school. So, they wanted the name of, 3 people who they could contact. And so I was like, okay, no problem. And then I submitted it, and then I didn't realize that they got a form they had to fill out, and they had to submit a letter. And I was like, oh no, because I didn't really tell these people. They were okay with it, but it was just kind of oops. So I think I'm still waiting on one of those letters now for that, and then I think it kind of closes this next week towards the end of the week. So I'm kind of excited about that. I also got the bad news that another job that I really, really wanted, I didn't get forwarded for an interview, which is really frustrating because this is a job that it was actually one of the first jobs I applied to out here back when we were living in Wisconsin. It was a job at the Science Museum, and I really, really wanted it because it seemed like something that I could really do a good job at. And, of course, I got the basic form email that said, we've decided to go with someone whose background more closely fits our, requirements or whatever. And doesn't give me any information as to why I didn't even get an interview, why they didn't even want to talk to me. So it doesn't tell me how I can improve, you know, applying for jobs in the future. And the HR person who's the contact has been very kind of not helpful and not super responsive to me. So while, you know, maybe if there had been more dialogue, I would email them and say, hey, how could I, you know, improve myself for the next time? But I don't think she'll get back to me anyways. So it's just been really frustrating because it's just been not good luck with getting interviews. And, you know, I know that part of it's just that it's a tough market and it's a, you know, tough time of year to be applying for jobs and all of that. But it's hard not to like take it personally and say like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what is wrong with me and my resume that I can't even get an interview? Like, I can't even get someone to talk to me. So that's been really frustrating. But I'm really keeping my fingers crossed for the job at VCU because that would be really awesome. So yeah, that's that. On a, you know, totally personal note that nobody cares about. But other things to update. Knitting. I know that, you know, this blog is supposed to feature some knitting, and it will soon. I've been getting back into knitting. I kind of had taken some time off when we first moved out here because it's hard to knit when it's like 100 degrees outside, and especially because I like to knit socks that are, you know, knit with wool. I just don't enjoy that feeling when it's like really hot and in the summer. So now that it's been cool again, I've really been getting back into knitting. And I made this last week, and it's a toe sock. See, little toes. It's a toe sock. So this is my first attempt at a toe sock. What's really nice about this one is that it actually brings back in top-down socks because I was doing toe-up socks and they just weren't really working for me. I don't know. So I enjoy knitting top-down socks, but I don't like doing Kitchener stitch at the end. So this totally eliminates that with doing the toes. The problem with this one is that it doesn't fit quite right because, as you can see, I just kind of did the toes like straight across, and it turns out like that works, but it doesn't really fit my foot. And I don't know if I can really quickly get this on my foot to kind of show you why it didn't work. Get the toes in the right little pockets for the toes. So it's really nice, like the big toe fits really well, and this toe fit really well. This one, there's a little bit of extra at the end, which I think is just because I didn't really know what I was doing. But the problem is that there's like this part, which is actually supposed to be here. Like, so what I'm doing with the next one is I'm going to kind of stagger the toes in layers so that it will actually be more like how my foot actually looks. So like the little toe will start lower, and then I'll knit a couple of rows of like straight across sock and then, you know, separate off these stitches and then do it that way. So I will update once I get that successfully done. I have actually started that sock and I have finished decreasing the gusset, and now I'm just working on the rest of the foot. So I will update on that once I get done with that. It's going to be kind of just seeing how it goes. This one was surprisingly easy. I've never done like gloves or anything before, so I was surprised how easy this was. So I don't think it'll be too much of a problem to adapt it to kind of the way that I want it to look. So I'm kind of excited about that. So there's that. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about pens and things. I posted a video on, what day was it? I have to look at my little calendar where I've written things down. On Thursday, called Will It Write? And that was basically talking about the pens that I had left inked up during the month that I was using pencils, and kind of looking at, will they write after sitting pretty much unused for a while? And so I posted that, and then I cleaned out all of those pens Friday, something like that. So I cleaned out all my pens, and then I inked up just one of them. And that's kind of what I'm going to be doing from now on. So, and that brings us into kind of going through my loadout. So I have the Knock Co. Lookout, which I need to review at some point. It's one of those things that I really like, and I have a hard time reviewing things that I really like because I don't want to just gush about it and be like, oh my god, it's so awesome. But anyway, so this, you know, it's a 3-pen holster, which means that I have 3 slots in here. So I'm trying to keep kind of my loadout to 3 items, which means kind of that it limits how many fountain pens I want to have inked up. And it means changing a little bit how I use mine. So let's go through what's in here, and then I'll talk a little bit about what that means going forward for kind of how I'm going to be using my pens, at least for the immediate future, not necessarily forever. So in here, I have my tactile turn mover, the teal one that I reviewed. I'll link to that review down in the description. This guy has a Pilot Juice refill. I've also reviewed the Pilot Juice, so I'll link that as well. Has a Pilot Juice refill in coffee brown, which I really like because it's just, you know, it's a really dark brown, so it kind of looks black at first, but it writes really well. It's, you know, professional enough that I could sign, you know, important documents with it, but it's not black or something like that. So I'd say probably the coffee brown and the blue black are my two favorite Pilot Juice refills, if anyone cares. So that's the one. This one is just kind of to have a pen that I could write on like carbon copy forms or anything like that, and it's permanent. Like that's the important thing, with like the place that this pen takes in my loadout, is it can write on anything and it's permanent. So there's that. Next one is my Twist Bullet pencil, which I will link the review of down below. And in that right now, I have a stub from my Palomino HB because it's orange and the pencil is black, so it's kind of Halloween-y and cute. I'm not sure how long I'll keep this stub in here, but, you know, for a little while at least. So that is that, and that's because I want to have a pencil in my loadout because there are times when having a pencil is super handy. Like when I want to just jot down something super quick, or I don't want to have to worry about dry times or anything like that, or because sometimes I just enjoy using a pencil now. Crazy. So that's that. So I'm going to try and always keep a pencil in my loadout, probably in this guy. And of course there's other pencils floating around the apartment, so it's not like this is the only pencil I'm using. This is also really nice for those times when I'm, like when I'm knitting and I'm trying to keep track of rows. Sometimes I'll just do like tally marks to keep track of how many rows I've done, like when I'm doing a heel or something and I know like, okay, I have to do 32 rows. So every time I complete a row, I'll just do another tally mark. And that's where like a pencil really comes in handy because I don't have to worry, you know, I can just deploy it and then I don't have to worry about it drying out or anything. I can just leave it sitting on top of my notebook that I'm keeping notes in. So that's where the pencil really comes in handy. And then of course the third spot is a fountain pen. Right, this week it is my Lamy Safari in Griso Gray. This is the one I got at the DC Pen Show, and it is inked up with Emerald of Shavar, which I have a sample of. And so yeah, so that's my third spot in my lookout, empty. So kind of what this means, you know, only keeping 3 writing instruments going at a time. Obviously it means that I don't have to worry about cleaning pens out all the time, which is great, because having to clean however many pens, I'm trying to count really quick, 1, 2, 8 pens out at once was really miserable. So I don't want to have to do that anymore. Another thing where this really kind of is a little bit freeing, I guess, is because I know that in my tactile turn, I'll always have a Pilot Juice refill, which means I will always have a refill that is, you know, UV proof, waterproof, permanent, pigmented, bleh, can write on anything. And I always have a pencil, which is, you know, permanent. It's UV proof, waterproof, everything like that. So I have 2 things in here that are super permanent, which means that my fountain pen can be inked with whatever I want. I know it's kind of a common refrain around my blog that, oh, well, fountain pen ink, I need it to be waterproof, or I need it to be permanent, or I need it to be whatever. I'm trying to get away from that now. I'm trying to just enjoy all that fountain pen inks have to offer. And that's because I have these other 2 things that I know for sure are permanent. So if something's really important, I can write it in one of these 2 things. But for just writing down my to-do list or grocery list, why not use whatever color I want? If I want to use bright orange because it's Halloween, let's use bright orange because it's Halloween. If I want to use, you know, an offensive pink, or if I want to use black, let's use whatever because it's fun, and this is meant for funsies. And I have the other serious stuff covered with everything else. This one's going to be for fun. So that's kind of how I'm trying to approach it from here on out. I'm trying to get away from that whole, well, fountain pen inks are only useful if they're permanent, and get into something a little bit more lighthearted and have a little bit more fun. Plus I have tons of samples. I'm trying to think if I can figure out where that box is. Thankfully it's within arm's reach of where I'm sitting. I have an entire bag, plus more, full of samples that I really need to get working through. So that's my plan. So yeah, so that's that. So then coming up on the blog, I'm recording this on Sunday, so this will post Monday. I might have something, my nose is all runny. I might have something else interesting to post on Monday, but I'm not entirely sure. So there may or may not be a second video either on Monday or one posted on Tuesday. We'll see. And I'm not going to talk about what that is, but there may or may not be another video in addition to what I'm listing here. So this will post Monday, October 5th, And then I'm planning on getting a review for Emerald of Shavar posted on Thursday. I'm saying the actual days so I keep myself accountable. On Thursday, that will be just on the blog. I won't post a video of that because I still just don't really know how to do ink reviews in video form. Maybe I'll figure it out, and if I do, there'll be a video. If not, it'll just be on the blog. And then next weekend, on Sunday, my goal is to have a review of the Visconti Homo Sapiens, which is Wesley's pen. I had mentioned that he bought that at the DC Pen Show. He's going to let me review it. So I hope to have that up next weekend, both in video and written format on the blog. So that's what's coming up for the next week. That's my loadout for the week. That's what's going on with knitting. Hopefully by next week I will have a completed toe sock to show you that will actually have the toes that will fit properly. But yeah, I guess that's it. I'm trying to think of anything else. That's all I have written down in my list of things to cover. So yeah, let's keep this short. Let's be done. I'll see you guys later. Bye!